Hi, and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn, and I have a very special guest with me today. We're doing a little bit of a green episode for Earth Day, which is coming up, and I thought it was appropriate that we talked about some of the greener things. So I brought along a friend of mine, Hughes, who works at Goose Island, and I'll let you kind of introduce yourself,
Sure.
Ian. And thanks for coming on the show, first and foremost.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I am the Environmental and Safety Coordinator at Goose Island Beer Company. I've been in that capacity now for about, it's been about 5 months. Before that, I was a brand ambassador for Goose Island, so I got to do lots of really fun events, talk to people about beer, get people excited about the craft, and of course, Goose Island. So
the goal of the show today is to embarrass him in front of his bosses and just slam Goose Island. No, I'm kidding.
Perfect.
No, I'm kidding. I would never do that. No, I love Goose Island. I really do. They're awesome, and I think the fact that they have somebody who is the, what is it called? What's your title again?
Environmental and Safety Coordinator.
Yeah, the fact that they have an environmental and safety coordinator, I think just in itself is just awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a cool opportunity to, primarily I'd say at least 3/4 of the job is safety related, but the other 25% being environmental regulatory compliance, things like that, but also working with our in-house environmental sustainability team and doing some really cool things internally for making us a better and greener brewery.
So as an outsider, I've always noticed, outsider to the brewing industry in general, I've always noticed that craft beer always seemed to have a green leaning to it.
Yep.
You just see it again and again and again. Obviously, we have some Goose Island beer. I've brought some Sierra Nevada beer, who I think is kind of one of the flag bearers for the green movement. But there's so many. I mean, it's almost... you don't even really flinch when you read, solar-powered brewery.
Right.
Like Anderson Valley has it on their caps.
Yep. Solar-powered beer, yeah.
Yeah, solar-powered beer. And Uinta, I was noticing, has like wind-power generated stuff. And it's really cool. Do you think there's a reason, or a bunch of hippies brew beer, or what's the deal?
I mean, the craft beer scene has kind of always been really geared towards like that local feeling.
Yeah.
And that local feeling is actually, that's sustainability in itself. Like I said, I would say this on the show, and I guess I might as well say it now.
Yeah.
When you're drinking local, you're drinking green, and that kind of, from there you can spin off and take that message even further by having sustainability be a core component of your business. So I think it kind of just goes hand in hand with that craft spirit.
Yeah. So what I wanted to do today, my idea was just to kind of talk a little bit about ways that people can drink more green or be more environmentally conscious while drinking beer. It's actually really amazingly easy to do. I brought some examples of ways to do it from breweries that I thought would be pretty representative of what people can do in their own local communities. And first and foremost, I think, is growlers, right? I mean, so why are growlers such a great environmentally conscious way to drink beer?
Well, I mean, when you think about it...
and speaking of which, I'm going to start picking away this thing.
Please do.
And we'll start pouring
I'm getting thirsty.
beer.
We don't even have a beer in our glass yet.
I know. It's horrible.
So I'd say in terms of growlers, draft beer is obviously the greenest way to go. Kegs are reusable if they're taken care of and not scrapped. Reusable up to 150 or even more times. You send it out to the bar, they use it, they send it back to you, you refill it. It's kind of a closed loop system. So it's really, really nice. Whereas with cans and bottles, they should be recycled, but a lot of times people don't do it. So
looks like I'm pouring this beer onto my crotch, but I promise I wasn't. Yeah.
You said you'd make it interesting.
But crotch beer is pretty beer.
Hey, it is.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful beer.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the message with Greenline is, we wanted to have a beer that was draft only. We wanted to have a
so
beer...
that's this beer. This is Green Line beer.
So this is our Green Line Pale Ale. We only distribute this in the city of Chicago. A lot of people don't like that, but we do it for a reason. When you talk about carbon footprints and sustainability, a lot of times people just kind of lose you. They stop paying attention. But if you've got a beer in your hand, it's obviously a heck of a lot easier to convey that message. So this is our megaphone essentially for sustainability initiatives both at the brewery, and again, draft only. By keeping it in those kegs, you reduce your waste footprint. And Chicago only. By keeping it in Chicago, we actually reduce our carbon footprint. We're not shipping this beer all over the place, refrigerating it over long distances.
Right, so like big trucks and stuff like that, obviously, that's a major component to, environmental, I guess emissions and stuff like that.
It is.
And a lot of people don't really think about that, but, there's just tons of trucks shipping stuff all over the place to you.
Absolutely.
Do you really need to, buy the beer when you could just get it locally and have it filled right up in your growler, wash it out, bring it back?
Yep.
You don't need to throw away. Because there's energy used even in recycling glass.
Absolutely.
So it's good to do, but.
Right, and everybody remembers the whole, second grade you learn the reduce, reuse, recycle. And recycle is the very last thing for a reason. If you can reduce the amount of waste that you're creating, that's the first step you should take. If you can reuse something, that's a great second step. So you go to this, you can reuse it. You go to cans, you go to bottles, you can recycle it. But obviously the best way to do it is to reuse. So
is there anything else environmentally interesting that Goose Island is doing, either specifically with Green Line or just in general?
Yeah, specific to Green Line, so draft only, Chicago only, again, to reduce the waste and carbon footprints. I brought a tap handle, stole it from the brew deck today, so...
Nice. I like it.
I wanted to bring it in. Everybody always says...
Contraband.
Yes, exactly. You can't have it, though. I'm sorry.
I don't want it. Okay. No offense.
We gotta be able to pour shift beers, so... So the tap handle, everybody always wonders why it looks so different from all the other big, really nice Goose handles. Which are,
for people who don't know, the normal Goose tap handle is a goose head. It's like a big goose head, and you do notice right away that is completely different from all the other Goose handles.
Especially if you go to the brew pubs, it stands out like a sore thumb. So this is actually reclaimed wood. There's a little bug called the emerald ash borer, and it's an invasive species that kills ash trees. It bores its way into the tree and kills it. So one of the ways that they're reducing the spread of these bugs is by just chopping down ash trees as soon as they see them getting infested. So this actually comes from ash trees in Wilmette, right here, just a near suburb of the city. So we, rather than getting really fancy and putting a lot of time and obviously energy into making a fancy handle, it's just a piece of reclaimed ashwood tree from an emerald ash borer infestation.
Cool, I never knew that.
Yeah, so it's a neat little, there's a lot of really little things about the Green Line project like that are really cool little stories. The other one being, every pint that we sell, we actually donate money to the Nature Conservancy's Adopt an Acre program. Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is all stuff that I love telling people about because it always gets that reaction. So as if you need another reason to feel really good about having a pint, right? We keep track of how much what our barrelage is throughout the course of the year. And then we make contributions to their Adopt an Acre program through the Nature Conservancy. And to date, we've actually preserved, so 1 pint equals 1 square foot of rainforest in terms of donations. And to date, we have preserved 80 acres.
That's awesome.
And do you know how many square feet are in an acre?
I don't.
43,560. I hope I remember that right. But I don't either. No. It's ridiculous. It's well over 2 million pints of Green Line. So
that's great.
Drink up.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers again. And it's doing really well for you guys. One of the things I like to do is go into bars that aren't necessarily craft beer bars and see what they have on and kind of talk to the bartenders. And I have gone in and been to a macro bar, which nowadays, I think if you're a popular macro bar, for lack of a better term, you need to have some micro brews on there, some craft brews. And I've been talking to them, and I was at a place, Butch McGuire's, which is right on Division, right? Yeah. And I said, "What's your best seller? What beer's moving the best?" And he said, "Green Line." Yep. So the key is you have to make, I guess, a good beer first. Yeah. And it's a delicious beer. Yep. So the more pints you sell, the more, because it can be ecologically friendly, but if the beer tastes like shit, then the beer tastes like crap. Then
what's the point, really? Right. And that's the best part. There's all these really cool things. There's all these really cool things happening with the Green Line beer. Yeah. But it's a damn good beer.
And it tastes kind of green as well. And I don't mean green beer like the green apple. I mean it's got a nice kind of like floral, green, herbaceous quality to it.
Absolutely. We're using a blend of 4 different hops in this. We try to bring out that really citrusy, bright American hop character in this beer without being overwhelming, punchy, way too bitter. It's got a nice crisp finish to it, and it's just easy to drink. It's a beautiful beer. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the other beer that I wanted to bring on, I knew for the show I wanted to have a growler, and I knew Ian would be like the perfect guest to have because he's got this just amazing job where he kind of lives this stuff to some extent day to day.
And I'm a giant geek. So.
And you're a giant geek, which works. But then Sierra Nevada, for those of you guys who don't know, and I think you can make conscious choices even if you're not getting a growler. Where are you buying your beer from? And to me, I think there's no one better than, there might be people as good as, but no one's better at being environmentally friendly, if that's the right way to put it, than Sierra Nevada. I mean, these guys kind of set the standard in so many ways in craft beer. I mean, not only did they help invent what craft beer is, help invent what an American pale ale is, you know, they also set the standard and set the bar for environmental sustainability for brewing in this kind of new wave craft brew movement, and they continue to raise the bar. I mean, they're still, I would say, the industry leader in this stuff. And I was just going through some of the stuff that they do. And the first thing you notice, we were talking about it a little bit before the show, you go to Sierra Nevada's website, and the first thing you notice is 3 dials that are updated semi-real time. Like every 10 minutes, they're updating what percentage of power they are generating on site. When I checked it yesterday, it was 75% of all the power they were making. All the power they were consuming was made on site. And when you looked, you said the other day it was at 120%.
Yeah, so they use solar panels on their roofs, and they also use I believe it's hydrogen fuel cells.
Yeah, they do.
To generate their own electricity, and in the process of that, they were actually making so much that it was meeting 100% of their needs plus an extra 20%.
Yeah.
So they were actually feeding that back onto the grid. It's incredible.
Yeah, so they have solar panels kind of everywhere they can. The hydrogen fuel cells are on their water treatment plant. So they took the burden off the local municipality. And you're the one who told me a while back how brewing is really, if you don't if you don't take precautions, can be very environmentally unfriendly, especially in water consumption. It's so water intensive.
It is.
So Sierra Nevada kind of took some of the burden from their local municipality and treats all their own water. And I guess a byproduct of water treatment is biogas. So they collect that biogas during their water treatment in their hydrogen fuel cells and turn it into energy. So it's really just, there's no such thing as waste if you try hard enough, I guess.
It's a really neat, and the guys down at New Chicago Beer Company down on the south side in the back of the line, they're going to be doing the exact same thing. So with their wastewater treatment, as they're treating that outgoing, the yeast slurry, the spent grains, all that stuff, the little microbes and yeast and all that produce that gas, then they turn around, they're going to use that to fire their kettle.
That's great.
Whether it's through steam or using that natural gas directly. It's
I think
really
that's
cool.
very similar to what they're doing. I just have a list here, so I apologize for kind of looking down and looking at what they're doing. Yeah, so I guess, methane is created during water treatment, and they use that to heat their kettles, and then on the heat from the that is used to heat the kettles, they also recover the heat. They recover all the steam, and they treat it, so it's all just kind of cyclical over and over again. The other thing that was amazing to me is that at Sierra Nevada, 99.6% of the solid waste is diverted from a landfill, including their shrink wrap and the plastic strapping on their pallets.
Yeah, we do something really similar. I think we're not quite that high. I think we're up to maybe, last time I remember, we're at like 96%. But it's amazing the amount of things that you can recycle, especially when you consider the strapping on a pallet.
I mean,
it's crazy.
But I guess it adds up.
Yeah,
a lot of pallets go in and out of Sierra Nevada.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think they just look for ways to reuse is really what they're good at, and I'm sure reduction as well, but just reusing it. So they have a restaurant, and they have a garden that they use for to grow the vegetables and the fruits that they use at the garden. They also have a herd of cattle, so they feed the cattle the spent grain and the spent hops. They fertilize the garden with compost that they pump 5,000 pounds of material a day into this composter.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I think the Goose Island Beer Company needs a couple cows.
I know John Laffer wants to do bees.
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah.
Make that happen, John.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just really cool. Even down to the vegetable oil they use is created into biofuel, which they use for their trucks.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you would think, well, that's all ridiculous. It's going to cost so much money. But in the grand scheme of things, Sierra Nevada's price point is on the low side for craft beer. I mean, it's a $6 or a $9 six-pack, and that's in line or below a lot of the other guys.
Yeah, and the one really common misconception that a lot of people make, sure, it does cost money to set some sustainability practices into motion, but once they get into motion, sustainability does equal cost savings. So
yeah.
I think that's a really big thing to say for sure.
Yeah. It's I was really just shocked, and the way I described it to Ian before is when you're reading through all this stuff that they make very available on their site, it's inspirational, and it really makes you feel good about buying their product. Not that they don't want you to necessarily feel good about it, they're just doing it because that they think that's the right thing to do. But yeah, I mean, little things that probably don't take a lot of money to put in place. Like they collect all the water from all the water that's used to wash their trucks is collected and treated and reused. And why not? Why have it go down a drain when you can just have it, diverted right back into everything else and reuse it?
Yeah, it's like for us, we clean out the outside of our bottles as they're coming into the filling machine. And they're essentially clean bottles, so it's essentially clean water once it's done rinsing. So we'll actually pump that to the back side of the filler, use that water again to wash out the outside of the bottle from all the beer.
Cool. As
it gets filled. And it's, that kind of finding ways to reuse, finding ways to close loops, eliminate waste, it's an amazing thing, and it actually has some pretty cool results.
Yeah, it's really neat. Now, a couple questions I have, I didn't really research them, is, so this whole Anheuser-Busch thing, no, I'm kidding. No, are there certain vessels for beer that, aside from a growler, are better to use? I mean, in general, you recycle glass, you recycle cans. Is one better than the other, or do you not know, or which is okay?
Well, it all depends.
Be a failure as a guest. You don't know.
I don't know. Cans are obviously a little bit better, especially in terms of shipping. You're still. Sierra Nevada still ships their stuff all over the place.
Yeah.
They are going to build a new brewery in Asheville, North Carolina, which will service all the people on the East Coast, which would be great. And a big driving component behind that was the sustainability aspect. But with cans, they're lighter. They're a little bit more. They're more likely to be recycled, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I've seen it that they're considered easier to recycle.
Right.
Or more likely to be recycled.
Well, when you see people digging around in trash cans looking for recyclables to take to the scrap metal place or to wherever to sell, it's cans. So those things are getting recycled a lot more frequently and a lot more readily than bottles. Bottles are heavier, so you're using more gas to ship them. But it all kind of comes down to the recycled content in those packages. I think ours are like 30% recycled content in our bottles, which is great. But cans can be 100% recycled if I understand correctly. So the container itself can be made of completely recycled materials.
Yeah. And I've said it before. For people who have kind of a stigma about cans, there's absolutely no taste. There's no difference. In many ways, it's better than a bottle. You're not going to get any light. You're not going to get any oxygen. And, if you pour it into a glass, you're certainly not going to get any metallic taste. And really, if you're drinking a craft beer, you should be pouring it into a glass anyway.
Yeah, you'll get so much flavor out of a craft beer as well that even if there was any kind of a taste, you're not going to get it. But yeah, cans are, and the nice thing about cans too, it's kind of off the sustainability path, but they're really easy to transport. You don't have to worry about broken glass. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So the next time you go on a hike, you can grab a can.
Yeah, it's true. So grab some cans. The other thing is, it's also just from kind of a selfish standpoint for the beer drinker, cans are allowed in places that bottles aren't. So be happy that craft beer is starting to go that place, because at the ball game, at a concert, camping, places where they don't want glass, they don't want broken glass, at the pool, something like that, that's when you can, go and have cans. We just had a show about Oscar Blues, kind of the first craft brewery to put stuff in cans. And I remember thinking, like, what, cans?
They went out on a line, and they're leading the charge. They're huge. Now they're doing 16-ounce cans, aren't they?
Yeah, the Deviant Dales I just had on, which is really good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Everything I've had from there is absolutely fantastic. And if you get out to that neck of the woods, you have to check out their can plant. It's amazing.
Their what?
The can plant. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. It's a really cool place.
Oh, my goodness. I just realized on my last show, I said, we went there. I have all these great pictures. Totally didn't put any of the pictures up. So I'm going to redo this show, and I'm going to have to put up all the pictures.
You're welcome for that reminder.
Yeah, because it's so cool in the can plant. You're actually just sitting there drinking. Their tap room and their can plant are there together. They use a wall of empty cans as a way to like kind of segregate you from the actual brewery, which is kind of cool.
And like everybody in the industry, they're awesome people. So go say hi for sure.
Cool. Anything else you wanted to add? I think we've kind of
I think we've covered quite a bit. I mean, I think it's certainly worthwhile to say you can, as you had mentioned, you can make drinking decisions that can save the planet. I kind of joke around about it, but you can, drink informed, learn about these breweries, get to know, not only go to the brewery and learn what their process is like and meet the brewers and things like that, but learn about the message behind the beers. A lot of times, people get so worked up about getting something in their cellar or having a sip of something that they don't see what the message is behind the beer or behind the brewery or whatever it may be. So
right. And that goes for all beer, because let's be fair.
Absolutely.
One of the things about a macro brewery is they're very efficient, and they've got this stuff down to a science. And some of those guys are actually pretty, in certain ways are environmentally friendly as well. So it's kind of equal opportunity. If there's a macro brewery that you can look at and try to find out what things they're doing,
right.
then you can base some of your decision off that as well.
And that's a really good point too, because Anheuser-Busch, actually the average brewery is at about, I think it's like seven barrels of water per barrel of beer. So it takes them seven. So we'll say 7 growlers of water to make this 1 growler of beer is about the average. We're at Goose Island, we're right at about 5 to 1. So we've done some things to really tighten.
It's amazing when you put it that way.
Yeah, it is crazy. And that's the other thing about keg beer is you use a lot less water because it's kind of a closed system. Whereas with bottles, that packaging, you've got to spray it out on the inside, on the outside, you're using a lot more water. So when you're drinking draft beer, again, drink draft, drink local, drink green. When you're drinking draft beer, you're actually losing a lot less water as well. But Anheuser-Busch, back to the original point, has some breweries that are actually down below 3 to 1.
Below 1.
3 to 1.
So to fill this growler, they use none, which would be impossible.
To fill this growler, they're using. Right? To use this growler, obviously, that would be amazing if I could do that. How could you figure that out?
You solve world hunger,
So it's pretty amazing that they've tightened down on their water consumption, and they're really, really smart about that. And it's something they don't really necessarily wear on their sleeve. So.
And I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What are they at?
So they're just under 3 to 1.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's we've got a lot of things that we can learn from them in that respect for sure. So it's pretty impressive. But yeah, get out there, get to know your beers, get to know your brewers, your breweries.
Yep.
There's some really, really great things out there, and some really awesome sustainability messages from people like Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, Brewery Vivant up in Michigan is really, really awesome. So check it out, get out there.
Cool. And then what was the what you drink? Drink draft, drink local, or did you have some catchphrase we can use here?
Drink draft, drink local, drink green. It's that simple. If you're drinking out of a growler, you can reuse this a bunch of times. If you're drinking local, you're not having the beer getting shipped all over the United States to get there. But support your local brewers, and you'll be drinking in a sustainable fashion. So. Well,
Ian, thank you so much for coming on.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
First, I think official guest I've ever had on. I think definitely a worthy one. And this was a show that I'd been thinking about for a while for Earth Day. So, think about it, guys. It really does make a difference. Being green is not one big decision. It's a lot of micro decisions that you make throughout your day and throughout your week and life. And, beer should be part of that as well. So thanks, as always, for checking us out. And we'll see you later. But until then, we don't have any beer to drink. I got to pour some more beer. Until then, we've got some very good, green, sustainable beer to drink that's going to be poured all over the table. And hopefully you do too. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.